Congratulations on being a successful applicant under the 2013 round of T-QUAL grants. This presentation deals with the next step in the grant process once you've accepted your offer of funding from the department. The presentation will tell you what to do next to develop the funding agreement for your project and what the funding agreement means for you. We encourage all key people involved in your project to watch this presentation so they know what is required when receiving funding under the T-QUAL Grants program. It is important that you read through the draft 2013 funding agreement on the department's website so that you are familiar with it and what it requires. A grants officer will contact you about it, so make a note of anything you don't understand or want to discuss. You will have received a letter from the department asking you if you want to accept the offer of grant funding. If you want to go ahead, you firstly need to accept the offer by emailing tqualgrants@ret.gov.au. After you have emailed your acceptance, the department will contact you to start work on your funding agreement. This may take a few weeks due to the number of successful applicants we will be handling. By signing a funding agreement, you are entering into a legal agreement with the Commonwealth of Australia. You should think about if you want to get legal advice on what the funding agreement means for you. The funding agreement will be made with the organisation that applied for the grant and for the project outlined in your application. It must be signed by the authorised person nominated in your application form. Be aware that you must have a funding agreement in place before you commit any grant funds or matching cash to the project. If it is critical that your project starts right away, for example, if you need to finish it before a peak business period, email us with the details. Your project milestones and budget from your application will form part of your funding agreement. Now is the time to review them. If your milestones or budget need updating or adjusting, please be ready to tell us when we contact you about your funding agreement. Milestones are activities that must be completed before payments can be made. Each milestone will have its own completion date. Think about how much time you need to complete each of the activities in your milestones. You will have to deliver your project according to the milestones in your funding agreement. Take into account peak work times for you and your contractors and suppliers. Consider the time needed to get approvals, hire any contractors, and order project materials. Remember, the project needs to be completed no later than 31 March 2015. Once you've completed a milestone, you will need to provide a report to us which includes evidence of the finished activities and an invoice for payment. Don't forget, check your budget from your application to see if the items and amounts need updating. Note that you can't get extra grant funds if your project goes over budget. You can start your milestone activities once the department has signed the funding agreement. You may need to provide evidence that your matching cash is available before signing the funding agreement. Make sure you have this ready when we start talking to you about your funding agreement. We will also need you to complete a form with the bank account details for your project funds. Congratulations again on your successful project. A grants officer from the department will contact you. The process from here will be quicker if you take the time now to review the milestones and budget from your application and the draft funding agreement on the department's website so that you are ready with any questions. We look forward to working with you and helping you see your project through to completion.